Hi friends, how are ya? Welcome back to my channel for just a sit down, chatty, casual type of video. I've been craving just like sitting down and connecting with y'all, and I'm filming this right around the time of my YouTube anniversary. I am hitting 8 years here on YouTube, which blows my mind because that absolutely flew by, but looking back on the journey has made me kind of like sentimental and reflective on how I got started and all the different ways it has evolved, and like kind of the way that childhood Michelle was primed to do this that I didn't even recognize until looking back.
Hi, I'm Michelle Janse.
You need to get out of here.
Excuse me? Are you telling me what to do?
Hi, I'm Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. It ends up being kind of almost like a little breakfast cookie, but healthy. Let's do it. Cool. Whenever I meet people in real life that don't know that I do this as a job, the first question they always ask is, what made you start that? Like, how did you fall into that? And it's an interesting story because it is truly something I fell into that I didn't necessarily even know could have turned into a job or could have built into what it is. Quickly just touching on childhood. Of course, I was a theater kid, so I was comfortable being on stage and performing and like talking in front of people and things like that. But also, I think the thing that was most formative for me, did anybody compete in UIL in school? Is that still a thing? I assume it's still a thing. I forget what it stands for. I should know what it stands for. I did it up through middle school. I wasn't able to do it in high school because I went to an art school, so we didn't qualify to do something like that. But it's essentially like sports for unathletic people. The events that I would compete in were poetry and prose, so just like standing up and reading, basically a poem or a story. But the thing that I loved so much was called impromptu speaking. It was a weird event looking back on it because you'd go into this room with a couple judges, maybe one judge, and there would be a bucket of topics. You draw a couple, 2 or 3, and then I think you'd get maybe 3 minutes to choose a topic and outline a speech in your head of an introduction, 3 main body points, a conclusion, and then you'd have to stand up and give a 10-minute speech as logical as you possibly could, pretty much completely improvised besides the 3 minutes of speaking time, and then they would judge you and you would place. But I think that was probably the most impactful thing I did in childhood that looking back on, I'm like, wow, that came so much in handy for what I do now. And then lastly, this is just kind of a funny thing. Did anybody have a flip camera? Do you remember this? Early 2010s maybe. It was a little vlog camera essentially that had a built-in USB that you click a button and it flips out of the side and you can plug it straight into your computer. I would bring that thing everywhere with me. I would film everything, especially family trips. I would film everything that we did and then come home and edit it to music, usually like 1 or 2 songs, which is essentially just creating a vlog. And I remember my sister would get so annoyed with me because she'd be like, Michelle, do you have to get a clip at like the perfect angle of everything we're doing? Like, you're 12, enjoy the trip, you know? And I actually did create a YouTube channel. When I was in high school, I started a channel, I filmed my first video, I edited my first video, and then for some reason, I never posted it. And I so regret not posting it then because it took me a couple years to get back to it. So a couple years later, I was living in LA. I was freshly 19, like a month into being 19, not even actually. 3 weeks into being 19, I was in school studying nutrition and I was working at the Culver Hotel as a line cook. But the reason I did that was because there was a network that I was absolutely in awe of. It was called Tastemade. I watched their Snapchat shows every single morning as soon as I woke up. I thought everybody on Tastemade was like the coolest person ever. Like I did not want anything more than I wanted to work for them. And Culver City was only a couple miles away from their studio in Santa Monica. So that I was like laser focused, absolutely tunnel visioned on I want to get Tastemade's attention. So I figured, okay, I want to work with them somehow. I guess maybe the most logical thing to do would build a portfolio of some sort, start like recording kind of food focused videos in my own home and just maybe hoping one day they see them. So I started probably once a week recording vegan cooking shows at that time. I was eating mostly vegan. I wasn't fully vegan. I tagged them in every single thing I did. And looking back, some of those videos are still on my channel. A lot of them aren't anymore. They're just privated, but some of them still are. Some of the very, very early day videos are. And it was hilarious to watch back on because I didn't have a vlog camera. I had one photography camera that did not have a screen that flipped out, did not have automatic focus. And what I mean by that is like when I hold my hand up, my camera focuses on my hand. When I move it, it refocuses on my face. So you're always in focus. You don't really have to worry about that. I had a lens that you had to focus like this. I would start the camera, stand, stop the camera, go to the other side, watch the footage, be like, okay, I'm not quite in focus. Change it, start the camera, stand, stop it, go back, check it. Do that like 5 times until I was kind of in focus. And then just remember the spot that I was standing and try not to move, because if I got any closer or further, I would be out of focus. We're just gonna roll with it. We're gonna experiment, and it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be fun. So let's get started. But eventually I saw a job listing for an intern position at Tastemade, and it had a little bit of on-camera work, but it was like in their office, 9 to 5 intern that would occasionally go out and like report on things as well. So I applied for that job, and I ended up getting called in for an interview. And during the interview, I told them like basically something along the lines of, this job sounds great, I will take it if I'm ever offered something like this, but like what I really would love is to be one of your hosts that have a show and do that. So they were nice enough to basically call me in for an audition. The audition was hilarious as well because I had the flu. I felt terrible, but I was like, I can't blow this audition. This is my only chance. And I've been like trying for this for years. And the audition was, you came in and they had all these ingredients laid out, and they're basically like, make a sandwich, make like an interesting sandwich on the spot, impromptu, and talk to us like you're on a show, and then taste it. But I'm celiac, so I couldn't taste the sandwich. And so I had no idea if it was good or not. I literally just made a random sandwich and like pretended to be like, delicious. And I thought I blew it. I thought I absolutely blew it. I remember calling my mom in the car being like, oh man, I did such a bad job. I don't feel good today. I feel sick. I couldn't eat the sandwich I made. Like, there goes my dreams. But they ended up calling me in for a screen test where we filmed like a couple trial episodes, and then they ended up giving me a show, which is crazy looking back on it. And I was so thankful, and that was the only reason I started YouTube. I stopped posting on YouTube and I focused on Tastemade because that was really like the goal behind me creating videos at home. I figured, oh, okay, great. Now I don't have to create these videos on my own. Now I get to do it in a studio with a team and a production, crew and all these sorts of things. So there was a while, a handful of months, maybe as long as a year, that pretty much my YouTube channel was dark. I didn't really post anything on it. And it was actually Tastemade that pushed me into where I am now, because they were trying to expand more into the lifestyle space. They greenlit me for a show called Happy Healthy Home or something of the sort, to where it was gonna be kind of like a home focused show, but just about like healthy tips around your home. Like, here's how to properly wash your bath mats, and here's how, I don't know, things like that. And so they said, while we're in pre-production for the show, which was months, we want you to start just legitimizing yourself in the lifestyle space a bit more. Start putting out YouTube videos that are just more kind of lifestyle. So I think the first video back I did, at this point I was living in a 3-bedroom house with roommates in Culver City. I think the first video back I did was like decorate my bathroom with me, because I was like, this kind of seems like what Tastemade wants. And I had so much fun with them. I like genuinely enjoyed them so much, but I was kind of doing it for Tastemade while we were waiting in pre-production for the show. And after a few months, I get the call and they're like, hey, we've decided to go a different direction. As of now, for budget purposes, we're cutting all of our shows that are still in pre-production. And I think this was like a week out from me actually filming. So I think I like barely made the chopping block. And it was obviously devastated, but I had so much fun doing what they asked me to do on YouTube. And I think around that time I had gotten monetized or was getting very close to becoming monetized. I don't remember exactly what the metrics were that you had to hit back then, but I think it was like 10,000 subscribers and 1,000 watch hours, or was it 1,000 subscribers and 10,000 watch hours? I don't remember, but I was getting very, very close or had just barely hit it. So I kind of was like bummed, obviously, that I couldn't do another show with Tastemade, but really enjoyed doing this and realized, oh, hey, there's a chance that if I keep consistently posting on this, like maybe I could make a little bit of money, which at the time I was doing college in the morning and then driving to auditions all during the day, occasionally nannying or doing odd jobs like that, and then in the evening going into my restaurant job. So any extra money was so welcome. So I figured, if I just do one video a week, I think is all I tried to do back then, take 4 or 5 hours out of my week and do this, maybe it could grow into something eventually, and I wouldn't have to do all of these odd jobs and nannying and hand modeling jobs and social media management jobs and whatever the heck else I was doing to try to make rent. So I kept on pushing. And this is where we get into the eras. And it's funny because when I was living in LA, every year or less I would move. So I like picture my different eras based off of where I was living. So I would say the baby garage is when I really started. When I moved to the 3-bedroom house with the roommates is when I started lifestyle. And then right after that, I moved to the studio apartment in Pasadena. And this is when I really got into a rhythm. It was in this studio that I was able to fully go full-time doing YouTube. The first thing that I did that started to take off was also not my idea. And this was sip and thrift. And it's so funny looking back on this because back in this time of life, I had a manager, not like I do now, not like Rachel, who's my manager now just for YouTube, but I had a manager in the acting world. So my manager at that time was still trying to pitch me for lifestyle hosting types of things. And he was trying to prove concepts could be viable as a full show to these like younger, newer networks that weren't just cable networks, but were more kind of like, they call it new media. So online, kind of like Tastemade was. He actually came up with the idea because I really love thrifting. He was like, what if you just like name a series? And what if you name it something like, I don't know, Sip and Thrift, and you get a coffee and you thrift. And so that way it feels like a structure of a show, feels like a series. It has like a familiar flow to people, but it's a little bit different every time. And I was like, actually, great idea. Honestly, all of my best ideas weren't even my own. It was other people just trying to pitch me for something bigger that always fell through. It ended up leading me in the direction that I am now, which I'm so thankful for. So I started doing sip and thrifts like once a week, and they got like a regular amount of viewers. I remember having a moment where I thought, wow, when I do a sip and thrift, they always get at least 10,000 views, which at the time was like incredible for what compared to my other content that would be super hit or miss. It was just consistent. And so I thought, okay, if I keep this up once a week, I can like build consistency and maybe have somewhat of a consistent income and continue to do that. So I did that for a while. And this was also around the time where like subscription boxes were a super new concept. And I was just fascinated by them. I thought they were so cool. It's like getting a gift in the mail every month because you don't really know what it is. And I had the idea of what if I stockpile as many subscription boxes as I can, whether it's like try to DM them and see if they would send one or buy my own. I think it was a mix of both, and just open them all at the same time, which logically for content's sake makes no sense because that would be essentially if I open one box per video, that could be 8 videos. But I was basically blowing it all and doing it in one video. But I just thought it'd be fun, and I hadn't really seen anybody do anything like that. So I did this one video, and it's funny because this video really was the first time that I had somewhat of like a break to where this video was pushed beyond my audience quite a bit. And it was unbox I think it was 8 most popular subscription boxes with me. And I think it got over 600,000 views. They always tell you in social media, like if you really enjoy something and if it works, do something like similar to it again. And kind of make a series out of it, or like see what other ways you can integrate a similar concept into another video. And so I just started doing subscription boxes, and it was so much fun. I honestly, looking back, do miss kind of just how lighthearted and simple and easy and wholesome that era was. I did a lot of them. And so I was like, okay, I think we've seen every subscription box at this point, at least a couple times. And so naturally started to move away from it. But actually, hilariously enough, this week I am going to be unboxing a subscription box and a vlog, which I think will come out after this video. So for those of you who have been around since those days and missed that, this is going to be a little homage to you, a little gift, a little blast from the past, and I'm really excited about that. During this time, as things started to kind of pick up more and more, I cut back more and more on my work. I graduated college in December of 2018, so college was wrapping up, coming to a close, which was nice. And I remember just cutting back on the things I did. So I had moved to a serving job in Pasadena, and I went from serving 5 nights a week to 4 to 3 to 2, just to give myself more time to film and to edit. And I started increasing the frequency in which I posted. So I started posting twice a week, and then I started posting 3 times a week, and just holding myself super strictly to a schedule. In that apartment, I got my first couple brand deal offers, which were absolutely huge. Actually, my first ever, this is so funny, my first ever brand deal offer was for Instagram, which is weird. And it was for an air fryer. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I have to do such a good job with this. And like setting up my timer cam on my tripod and taking thousands of pictures of me with this air fryer to try to get it just right. That apartment, the most growth happened for me because I went from having my first ever brand deal to eventually quitting my serving job while still being in that apartment. I think I was in that apartment that's the only one that I renewed my lease. I should figure out exactly how long. Definitely over a year. Lots of turning points happened in that time frame. And that's where I got just more into vlogs as well because I had more time. I did quit my serving job like a month before COVID hit, fully. I had been dwindling down, but I fully quit my serving job a month before COVID and then was just stuck at home and made vlogging harder because there was like not that much you can get out and film, but I had endless time and just filmed so much in that apartment. The lighting in that apartment was awful, so bad for filming. I think it was probably around the time of moving into the house in Pasadena that I hit my rhythm that I'm kind of still in now in terms of my posting schedule and the type of content that I decided was a good mix and match. So for me right now, it's 1 usually focused video and 2 usually vlogs a week. That's kind of what I was doing in that frame as well. And how I approached filming definitely changed over the years depending on my life. Like if I felt like I was able to be more vulnerable versus not, I kind of would go through seasons of being like, I'm just gonna keep this surface level because my life is absolutely terrifying to me right now. Obviously, moving to Texas and vlogging that whole experience was an era in itself because I was in a state of being a lot more vulnerable, and I'm proud of myself for the content that I put out during that time. It definitely attracted a new audience, I think, of a lot of other people going through similar situations or being curious about what it would be like to go through a situation like that. Divorce in general, young divorce, all sorts of things. And I feel like I found a lot of meaning and purpose in my work at that time because I would get to connect with other people that made me feel less alone, and they would tell me that my content made them feel less alone as well. I'm glad that I pushed myself to continue documenting my life during that time and continue sharing, and here we are now. I do predict food will be kind of coming full circle 8 years later. So in the 9th year, I'll bring back what was kind of relevant in the first year. Hopefully, I feel like I am re-meeting that side of me. And I definitely have had imposter syndrome, especially after working for Tastemade and then them kind of being like, all right, this was fun. We're going to work with real chefs now. I was like, got it. Overcoming imposter syndrome, taking time to actually go to school and to learn more things. Who knows, maybe one day, I am so tempted to one day go through with a full degree program. I'm excited to continue with the lifestyle, continue with the vlogs, and introduce more food into the mix because that's something that feels just exciting for me as a creator and something that I've always been interested in, and feels nice to get back to it and to kind of tell little 18, 19-year-old Michelle, like, hey, you didn't lose this. We're coming back to it. So that's what I predict for year 9. But all that to say, would I start a YouTube channel in 2024? If I started back from zero today, my answer is honestly yes. I do feel like YouTube is a platform that has a lot of longevity. I know you hear things of Vine just disappearing one day and TikTok might be banned, and social media feels like it is very futile and that it could just disappear any second. But to me, the difference with YouTube is I feel like it is not quite social media because there's not a lot of the social aspect as much as there is the media aspect. A lot of people create YouTube accounts without the intent to actually ever post anything on their own. So it does feel more of like a interactive media instead of a social media. And so I think because of that, it has a different longevity because it's a little more similar to traditional television than it is to Instagram, TikTok, Reels. I do worry that people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter with the rise of short form content, and that just the desire to sit down and watch a full long chatty video of me just sitting here on my floor talking to you for 30 minutes or who knows how long is less appealing. But I do think that there will be a space for YouTube for a really long time. And I do think it's changed to where the concept of virality on YouTube is no longer really a common thing. It's a very slow and steady platform. You won't really see people overnight shoot up and gain a ton of subscribers or followers. I kind of like that because the people that you get to know on here actually genuinely know you instead of just discover you overnight and don't have that relationship with you. And I've seen a lot of people eventually make YouTube a career, and I would say the average time span is like 4 years. It takes posting consistently a couple times a week for 4 years. I feel pretty confident that if someone were to do that, they would get to a point of at least making what I made in my serving job. And so because of that, I would still encourage people absolutely to start a channel. I would still start a channel. I would always tell people when they would say like, oh, 4 years, that's a long time. I'm like, well, college takes 4 years, and it's very normal for us to just sign up for that and be like, that's fine. That's such a small portion of our life, and college is expensive. This is expensive in terms of time, but in terms of money, starting up a YouTube channel, you can use your phone, you can use iMovie, you can pretty much use what you have, and there's no overhead costs. There's just a commitment of time and consistency for some years. But if you're willing to do that because you enjoy it, I think totally do it. If you've been here and been around for all of the eras, I did an Instagram post and some people were like, I've been here since literally the garage studio days 8 years ago, which blows my mind. But if that's you, thank you for growing up with me. We've genuinely grown up together. I was a teenager and now I feel like my 30s are right around the corner. I've gone through so many massive life changes. It's been a journey, and I'm really, really honored that I got to share it with y'all so far, and that it's all documented for me to look back on, and it's kind of a diary for myself to share with like future generations, especially because I have a terrible memory and I often cannot remember what I've done last week. So it's nice to be able to go back and like relive and remember some of the better moments in life. I love y'all. I hope you enjoyed this chatty video. I know it was just casual and candid. Oh, it's trash day. I gotta put out the trash. I love you. I hope you have the best rest of your day. Thank you for being here. Cheers to year 9. We'll see what it holds. Definitely some yummy eats.